Hello and welcome to the End Step. Maria Bertholdi, Rich Hagan, and Paul Chian here to wrap things up from Pro Tour Hour of Devastation. Let's start with the card of the weekend. Paul, what have you got?
Well, there are a lot of good choices, but it's got to be the namesake, Ramnap Ruins. Now, this card gave the Ramnap Red deck just exactly the punch that it needed to kind of end games, right? Oftentimes, the way these red decks lose is you draw a few too many lands, and that's it. Your opponent stabilize, and that's it. You don't have enough burn spells. But now you get this card that you can play for basically free, and makes it so that any land that you draw in the future just turns into shock lands, or a different kind of shock land.
Yeah, an extraordinary card, and one that everyone saw coming. Most of the PT seem to have done.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And if you look at Paulo's deck list, if you look at his sideboard, he saw this deck coming. When I looked at his sideboard, I was just like, what is it? He could bring in all 15 cards from his sideboard for this matchup. He came ready for Ramnap Red.
All right, well, someone who else is ready is our own Brian David Marshall. He's waiting to talk us through the fantastic team series.
Thanks, Rich. Been an incredible season here with the debut of the Pro Tour Team Series, and we saw, some incredible magic. We saw Team Musashi and Team Genesis get through to the finals. They're going to play at the World Championship in Boston for the title of Pro Tour Team Series champion. But my team of the day is a little bit of a cheat here. I'm going to say Team Channel Fireball Ice. They got themselves, up into the way up in the standings, probably qualified Jacob Wilson for a Pro Tour that he wasn't qualified for. I have to double check that. But I think they ended up in fourth with this win. And you know what? This team tested with team face-to-face games. And the two teams together had the players who were the last two players standing in the room, Paolo Vitor Damarosa and Sam Pardee. They had to read. They said, well, you know what? We think this red deck is really good. We think this black-green deck is really good against this red deck. Let's play these two decks. And those are the two decks that are standing at the end in the finals. I mean, what a great showing by this conglomerate of face-to-face games and Channel Fireball Ice. So great job to both of them. And that's really my cheaty answer to Team of the Day.
Thanks so much, BDM. Well, that's your team of the day. What about the match of the day, or potentially the match of the weekend? Let's go down to Tim Willoughby and Riley, the mouth from the south. Night.
Well, Riley, most of the awards have been given away, but there's one important one still to deliver, and that is the match of the weekend, the match of the day. And, well, we had a lot of games going on in our top 8, and somehow or other, Paolo, on top of winning Player of the Year, on top of winning the Pro Tour here, I'm pretty sure that he's managed to win Match of the Day as well. And it started off at the very, very beginning of our day here. It feels so long ago now, but he had a really rough matchup against Seth Manfield at the very start of the day. He started off as #1 seed, which meant that Paolo was able to be on the play, a huge advantage in this red mirror. But game 1, mulligan to 5, it's over really fast and not in Paolo's favor. Game 2, second verse, same as the first. It was not looking good for Paolo whatsoever. And it gets to game 3, and once more, his 7's no good, his 6 is no good. It looked like it was all over.
He's down to 5, 3 consecutive games in a row. It's real, like Seth Manfield, he's there just looking at his 7's and I've got this. Like this is beyond a doubt, absolutely mine. But PV's got a lot of heart, this guy. He's got a lot of soul, and he's digging deep. And off of the mulligan to 5, 3 games in a row, he takes it all the way to the 5th game. He is knocking his opponent about, and Seth Manfield, he cannot believe this, because this is the monster comeback off the back of Ethersphere Harvester, gaining himself that life, knocking around some big ones. And I was just so impressed by the way PV carried himself through that first game. 100% my match of the day, 100% my match of the weekend. It is insane. Do yourself a favor, make sure you get across that later on the video replays.
Seriously, it was a fantastic game, and it kind of started to set the tone for the entire top 8, because that one went to 5 games. So many, all of Paolo's matches went to 5 games. His semi-finals, his finals, it was always coming down to the last game.
He's on the mulligan to 5 a bunch of times as well. I mean, this 5 letters in Kyoto, 5 letters in Japan.
5 letters in Magic.
5 letters in Paolo. The final finished at 555.
5 prongs on the Planeswalker symbol. Get out your tinfoil hats. In addition to getting match of the day. I think that Paolo might have started some kind of conspiracy. But yeah, congratulations to Paolo Vitor Dama de Rosa, our match of the day and indeed of the tournament.
Thanks so much, Tim and Riley. Well, BDM's over at our video wall with our winner, Paulo Vitor Dama de Rosa, and a few of his friends.
Paulo, congratulations. Not only do you get your second Pro Tour trophy and 12 Pro Tour Top 8 appearances, but you get the Player of the Year title, something that somehow you had not achieved yet in your illustrious Magic career. Congratulations. What does it mean to you to be the Player of the Year at the end of a long season playing alongside these great teammates?
It means a lot. I mean, of everyone in the year, I did the best. So it's pretty good. It feels great.
Talk us through this match. You know, this whole top 8 hinged on a game 3 where you're down 2 games and you go down to 5 cards. Just an incredible comeback. How do you manage that? How do you handle the decisions to stay present and be able to come back and win that match?
I mean, you have to know that you're going to do the best you can, and some things you don't control. You don't control if you have a hand with no lands, so you mulligan, and then if you have no lands again, you mulligan again. And what's left for you is to try to do the best you can with the 5 cards that you have, and it's what I try to do. And you can't let it put you down. You just have to fight back, I guess.
Now, I was reminded in the semifinals, you had this just a match that people are going to talk about for a long time. It really looked like your opponent had drawn exactly the card they needed to win. And that's something you've been in a position where your opponent has made a mistake before in the top 8 of a big match. I go back to the Worlds in Paris, right, where you were playing against eventual world champion Makita Mahara, and he made a mistake and then somehow righted the ship. Were you worried? Were you thinking about that moment at all there, where you're like, okay, he just gave me a way back into this, and now is he going to find a way back out?
Not really. I didn't think about the Mihara moment. I just, okay, I'm dead. Never mind. I'm not dead. Now I'm actually in a pretty good spot. So I just took it. Didn't think much about it. Just like, oh, I'm so glad this happened. But yeah, didn't think much about it. Just.
Now, tell me about working with these guys, the Channel Fireball Ice and face-to-face games. You guys came to come to this red deck and this green-black deck. What was that process like? What is it like working with this team of, fine, upstanding Magic players?
I mean, working with them is great. Everyone is good. So if someone tells you that something is true, you can just trust them. Like, we can theorize a lot of things. We don't even have to play to figure stuff out. Like my sideboard plan against Saf, I was just talking to Ben in my room yesterday at 11 p.m. and we didn't play any games. We're just like, okay, so this is how it's going to sideboard, and I think we should go under instead. So I boarded like 10 cards different than I did against all the mono reds in the Swiss without playing a game, and it was great. And this is the kind of thing that you can do if you have a team like that of experienced people who understand the game. So in this regard, it's great. And we're all friends, so it makes PD testing something that I look forward to. So I wanted to come to Kyoto early. I wanted to spend a week with those people, and that wouldn't be true if I didn't like all of them. So in that regard, it makes me want to practice. It makes me do better just by having them. And how we arrived at the 2 decks? Well, we figured that Mono Red was going to be the most popular deck, and it's the deck we started playing the earliest. But then we just couldn't beat it reliably. Every deck that we tried, like some decks would beat Mono Red, but they would just lose to everything else, and we didn't want to have a deck like that. So we figured it was just, since we didn't really know the metagame, it was just better to be proactive. It's better with your mulliganings or scry decisions when you don't know what you're up against. So we're playing Mono Red, and even the Black-Green deck that we have is a little bit more proactive than the Black-Green decks that we had in the past. Like before, we had a deck that was like Black-Green Delirium Control, and the field turned out to be full of Marvel decks. Then we couldn't win the game. But this time, even if we got the metagame wrong, because our deck has an aggressive component, we actually could. So we just tried to be proactive.
Give a piece of advice to people at home. I imagine there's a lot of people playing red decks, and they are going to face a lot of red mirrors on Magic Online and at Friday Night Magic. What's one piece of advice you can give the people who are at home watching you right now?
I think don't be ecstatic. Like don't have a plan that you keep doing that over and over regardless of what you're playing against. Like Mono Red is a name, but there's still like 5 different decks that can be named Mono Red, and you want a different thing against each of them. So again, what I did against Seth was radically different from what I did against my opponents in the Swiss, and sometimes they would play, when I played against Sam Black in the Swiss, he played a card in game 2 that made me want to change something for game 3. So don't just have like a sideboard guide, ins and outs against Red, just evaluate what your opponent is actually playing, how they play, and then sideboard according to that.
Okay, it helps if you're 12-time Pro Tour top 8 competitor Paulo Vitor Dama de Rosa doing that. Paulo, again, congratulations. You're the Pro Tour champion. You're the player of the year. We're going to see you at the World Championship, and great job with you and your teammates all year long.
Thank you.
Incredible stuff there. Paulo Vitor Dama de Rosa is your player of the year and your Pro Tour Hour of Devastation champion. So, all right, we're almost there. A memory, Paul, something that you're going to take away from this weekend to take us away from Pro Tour Hour of Devastation.
Well, this is one of those situations where there was a clear best deck, and everybody wanted to beat this deck, but they couldn't. Either it was kind of one of those, if you can't beat them, join them situations, and a lot of pro teams were just like, no matter what I try to do, this deck just always keeps coming out on top. So this red deck is here to stay. It's been a while. It's been a while since we've had a successful red aggressive deck, but it's here to stay, and I know a lot of people are going to go really deep in the tank to try to beat this deck, but I think it's going to be really, really hard.
Okay, Maria, a takeaway from you.
Well, I'm going to go back to the early mornings of Friday and Saturday because I want to talk about Limited, Rich. This limited format, especially for draft, is fantastic. You can play all the colors if you want to play all the colors. You can play 2 of the colors if you just want to play blue-red spells, lean and mean, and 3-0 like Paulo did with one of his drafts. And you can draft as many hoopoos as you can get your hands on.
Great stuff. All right, well, for me, I just want to say this, really. Here at the News Desk, we are, of course, a lean, mean, hype machine, which means it's our job to tell you that Magic's the best game in the world. Today, that's not really very hard, is it? What an amazing, amazing last day of the season it's been. To all the tens of thousands of you who've taken part in Grand Prix and Pro Tours, and the hundreds and thousands and millions of you who have started your journey towards this hallowed turf by playing at your local game store with Friday Night Magic and teaching your friends to play. Thanks so much for being part of the ongoing story that is Magic the Gathering. Let's do it all again in the 2017-2018 season. I can't promise bigger, I can't promise better, because it's going to be pretty hard to top. For everyone here on the team, thanks for being a part of the best game in the world. I'm your host, Rich Hagan.
And I'm Maria Bartholdi.
Saying bye.